All right, so I was at the gym and I was walking on the treadmill while there was a girl in front of me who was wearing a ridiculous outfit. And I just kept, like, she got on the treadmill right in front of her, and I had to keep staring at my own feet because people are like that, right? So I put on any video to distract me from whatever was jiggling in front of me. And I, I won't normally watch a video from According to Nicole because I find her advice to be unrealistic at best and a little snooty. And she's a wealthy YouTuber. Don't get me wrong. She tries to come off as a person that's relatable to and normal. This girl has money. She probably doesn't make as much as Shoe on Head, but she definitely has money. So when people like this or any video try to give you financial advice, and this is coming from her own words, when people on YouTube are making money by offering you financial advice, that's their product. That's what she does. That's how she makes her money. People come here to listen to her financial advice, which to me doesn't make any sense. But there was one thing that she did say today that really stood out. It's the only thing in the entire 15-minute video. And you guys aren't watching this anymore because, boy, she really needs to spend some of that money on a new haircut. Not judging, just saying. So when she said this, you know what's funny about low-paying jobs? They have a strange way of feeling safe. I've had a lot of low-paying jobs in my life. In fact, the vast majority of my jobs have all been low-paying jobs. And when I put her transcript into ChatGPT and I asked it to create a story, then give me talking points, it created these four talking points: the illusion of stability, the comfort fear cycle, the hidden cost of staying stuck, and the power of small steps. So we're going to start with the first one. Low paying jobs often feel stable because they're predictable, trapping you in a cycle of paycheck to paycheck survival. It's not so much that you want to be there, right? You can walk into any low paying job in America, anything $20 and below, and it's not like you want to be there. You don't feel stable. Do you know how many times I got suspended from Kroger's for a day or a week because I would come to work and I would be absolutely disgusted with the job, the people who work there, and the overall way that the store runs, right? I didn't like it one bit. And it wasn't stable to me. There wasn't anything stable. You would see people coming and going all the time. In fact, I just sat outside talking to a 60-year-old cashier who was making all these ridiculous claims about education. And I had to keep correcting her about what education really means in America because she's like, oh, yeah, I told my kids to go to school and they're all really successful. I'm like, that doesn't always work. For the vast majority of people who go to school, they're going to come out and they're going to be working the same crummy jobs that I've been working. When you graduate from university and your first job after leaving is working in retail, and this is something that the kids that I worked with at the time, right? Because when you work in retail, you're working with people that are working their way through college that just feel like I did, right? The second you finish school, the world is going to be your oyster. Well, guess what? Graduation came, graduation went, and they were still stuck in that job. And to see people get fired for the stupidest reasons in retail, it didn't matter if you were there a week, a year, 10 years, or 20 years. I mean, I just saw a person get fired at my current job after working there for 20 years. You wonder, what's this 60 plus year old woman going to do now that she's been fired when she was expecting to retire comfortably? The corporation doesn't care. These low paying jobs are not stable. And any person that's worked in a Walmart will tell you when you meet your coworkers, they've all been job hopping from fast food to warehouse to retail over and over again because they don't have any real skills. So this illusion of stability at the bottom, I don't know where people get that from because it's not what I've seen in the workplace. And being trapped paycheck to paycheck, well, that's just normal in America. It's not like we can just get up and say, If I could get up and leave my current job for a better job or a job that pays the same amount, what am I really getting? I'm just going to another evil corporation that doesn't care about people. It's not like I'm suddenly going to find myself embraced by a corporation that actually cares about whether or not I can afford a house or have a stable life. Because for most of us, we don't have any stability in our work life or in our home life. Moving on to talking point number 2. The longer you stay in your comfort zone, the harder it becomes to leave, making fear of self reinforcing barrier. It's not fear that we have for being in the comfort zone. Most of us just work a job that we can do, right? Everyone works up to their capability. Your job hires people, well, not all the time, but you work your way up to the best job that you can get. And for a lot of people in this country, the best job you can get is going to be a $20 and below job. In fact, all of my workers that I've had working for me in the past few years, this was the highest paying job that they have had. All of them were working for $14 an hour or less, and suddenly they're making 18 and they think, oh my God, I'm making a lot of money. And then they get their first paycheck. And then they're like, well, I thought this was a lot of money. It was the same thing to me when I got promoted at my job to my current position. It's like, oh man, life is going to be so much better if I can make this amount or this amount. And the reality is that it's not better. Being in your comfort zone it's not even comfort. It's it's a fear that you have of losing your job and having to start all over. I live with that constant fear. Last night I couldn't sleep because I was living that fear over and over again. I was in a panic attack. I was feeling anxiety. I was depressed. But mainly it was a fear that would stab me over and over again all night long because I didn't know what was going to happen. And people ask me all the time, it's like, why don't you just move out of that apartment? I do not have job security at all. No one does in this country. The amount of layoffs that I have seen just in my current job scare the hell out of me. There's only 1,400 people that work in my current job. You're losing 1,000 of them every year. You think you have job stability in that environment? Every single year, 1,000 people have been fired or have had to quit because the wages don't keep up with the economy and they have people to support. I can afford to stay in this job because it's just me. If I lose my job tomorrow, it's not my kids who aren't going to eat. It's not my kids who are going to become homeless. It's just going to be me who becomes homeless. That's how this works. And that's why single men have it so terrible, because nobody really understands how awful it is to live without job security. And we used to have this thing called pensions that got replaced with the 401k. Do you know how much money's in my 401k? $0. Do you know why? Because everyone's living paycheck to paycheck. It's not because they're comfortable. It's because the aptitude that you have for work limits your potential for being a high wage earner. I've said this 100 times. There's only so many people in a corporation that are going to get comfortable jobs. Everyone else is going to spend their lives uncomfortable in the workplace, including myself. Do you think I want to work there? Do you think I've wanted to work one single minute in any job that I've ever been able to get my entire life? The answer is absolutely not. No one wants to work anymore because the wages are too low, the jobs suck, and the people who run these places are completely in denial about how much people hate their jobs. When people all show up with the same attitude of, I don't want to be here, I want to find any reason to get out of here, that's the attitude across all of America. When only 1 in 5 people is actually engaged at work and everyone else is scrolling through their phone on Indeed. I see this all day. I've seen it with every single worker I've ever had. When I worked at the call center, I see it all day long. People scrolling through Indeed, applying for jobs all day long. I'm not going to say I don't wake up every morning and get on Indeed and see the same trashy jobs there that I've seen for years. When you go onto a trash website like Indeed and you're scrolling through these jobs, you know who those jobs are for? For you. And you don't want them. And frankly, that corporation doesn't want to hire you either. But there's only so many losers in a society to do the loser jobs. So they know eventually you're going to get hungry. In fact, today, while I was sitting in the Aldi's parking lot, I got recommended this video on how rich people feel about poor people. And they don't have our best interest in mind. They want every person working for as little as humanly possible. And whether or not you are comfortable with your life, with the money that they're paying you, they don't care. Because just like they hired you, they can fire you and repost your job just like that. I've seen it happen at my current job over and over again in the senior manager position. Over and over and over again. It's a crap job for not enough money. And when they can't find someone that will work for that kind of money, they'll promote someone internal, work them till they burn out, and then fire them. That's exactly the pattern that I've seen with the senior manager position. They couldn't find anyone that was going to work for that kind of money for that for that type of work, right? They needed someone that could do this, 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 and this, and also manage this. And everyone would come into that job interview and they'd make you the offer. It's like, well, we can only pay you limited wages. And they're like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm going to take this job for what you're offering? Like that lady that I put up a few months ago where they asked her to be on call and available 7 days a week, year round for $25,000. The senior manager doesn't pay that low, but it's the equivalent. And you're kind of just like, well, what sucker are they going to find in order to take that job? Well, guess what? Let me break this down to you. They're always going to find a sucker. Desperation is the norm in our society. The only reason I've stayed in my job, my current job, is sheer desperation for work and the fact that I can't find anything else. Most Americans are also stuck in that same uncomfortable place, becoming too comfortable in low-paying jobs. But what do you do when every job is a 20 is a $15 to $20 job? It's not like you're going to get comfortable in a better job. If you could get that better job, you would have already gotten it, but that job's not for you. You are supposed to stay uncomfortable at these low-paying jobs. Talking point number 3, staying in a low-wage job might feel easier now, but it comes at the cost of future opportunities. What opportunities? I use the word opportunities all the time on this channel because there is a lack of upward opportunities for people like me. I have no upward opportunities. My coworkers at work, the guy that doesn't have medical insurance, do you think he's there because he has all of these other opportunities? He's there out of desperation. And that's what corporate America doesn't understand. It's like, we don't get why all of our workers are demoralized looking for other jobs and don't like being here. It's a lack of opportunity. There is no advancement in my position. There's no advancement in Gen Z's position. I try to tell this to them all the time when they start getting angry that they can't pay their bills on what the corporation is paying you. And it's normal. It's normal to be angry at a job that's uncomfortable because of the low pay and the living paycheck to paycheck. It gets real old to live in survival mode all of the time. Or, like me, your whole life is survival mode. From once you enter the workplace, it becomes survival mode until you either win the lottery, inherit some money, or some rich person is going to take pity on you and give you a job that's not listed on Indeed. So my final talking points, and I couldn't just find one small part of this that I disagreed with, but Escaping the trap doesn't require a dramatic leap. Small intentional actions like starting a side hustle, taking an online course, or reaching out to one new connection can slowly but surely build momentum towards a better paying, more fulfilling career. Let me break this to you, people. There are no careers in America. Career level jobs aren't for people who are living paycheck to paycheck or are people who are have unpredictable employment. Careers are something just like pensions that used to exist. Careers aren't for people like me. I've never taken a career position. I've taken jobs. You know what a job looks like? It looks like you're wearing a uniform with your name on it while you're flipping burgers at Burger King. That's a job. That's what you're going to have for your entire life. That's all I've ever had. Job after job after job that eventually your expiration date is going to come up. Every job comes with an expiration date for that employee because eventually they're going to see that you're just here to collect a paycheck. And if there's one thing management, rich people, job creators hate is an employee who just shows up for a paycheck. I don't know what it does to them, but it lights a fire under their hiney like you wouldn't believe. That's why they ask that one question in every single job interview that I've ever been to in my entire life. Why do you want to work here? And the wrong answer is I need the money. The right answer is making up some phony baloney excuse about how you see yourself changing things and making the place better and becoming a model employee. But guess what? You're not going to be there long enough to become a model employee. 3 to 6 months of being there, they're going to notice your attitude, your quiet quitter attitude, coming in to do just enough to keep your job. And every one of my coworkers at my current job has told me the same thing. I come here to do just enough to keep my job. Any executive who heard that, that person would be instantly fired. Corporate America doesn't like losers, even though it has to reach to the bottom of the barrel in order to hire losers. It doesn't like people who think that way. Remember, when I worked at Walmart, they asked you to work like the owner. In the training that you got before you were allowed on the sales floor, they would tell you you need to come to work and work like the owner, which I always just I rolled my eyes and laughed anytime that I had a supervisor or management or anyone in the corporation come up to me. It's like, it doesn't seem like you have the right attitude to work here. And if there was one thing that they would reprimand you about is anyone who would talk about, oh, this is just to get me by. This is just a temporary job. No one was allowed to have that attitude when you work there. I think it was every 3 or 4 months, you had to have these meetings with management. They were required where you would meet with management and then ask you, where's your career going with this company? And anyone who said it's not going anywhere, well, guess what? They were going to find a reason to fire you. They don't like people who say things like that. In fact, I got caught. One of the first times I got caught was I was talking to a really hot vendor for Lay's potato chips. And obviously, I was much older than the rest of the people working there. And she's like, "Why are you working here? You seem like you're way too intelligent to be working here." And I'm like, "I'm just looking for another job after college." And one of the managers was coming up behind me and I didn't see him. He's like, "That's the wrong attitude, millennials team. We don't want people working here who think that way. Everyone who works here should believe that this is a job, a serious job." And you're like, does it come with serious pay? Does it come with a serious title? Does it come with anything about this job that makes you feel like anyone's going to be here beyond a few months? And sadly, the entire time that I worked there, other than the general manager, every single person I worked with got fired or quit. Mostly fired. But that's just been my experience. Maybe your experience at the minimum wage has been different. Maybe you have found careers that are at the bottom that I didn't know about because When you've worked for crap your whole life, you just get used to the smell of it.